In previous episodes, we learned how to motivate by finding the feeling, shrinking the change, and growing the people. We saw that to grow the people, you needed each of them to be able to see themselves as the kind of person who can make the change. A big challenge in helping a person who sees themselves as both needing to make and capable of making such a change is whether the mindset that person has is a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. In 2006, Dr. Carol Dweck published the book Mindset, The New Psychology of Success, based on her research into what she called the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. In the book, Carol drew from examples in sports, business, art, and relationships where a fixed mindset limited what a person could accomplish and where a growth mindset overcame such limits. She starts by talking about the history of fixed mindset thinking, citing examples like phrenology and craniology that attempted to explain differences in people as being permanent results of what they were born with. The intelligence quotient, or IQ test, is believed by many to summarize children's unchanging intelligence. But its creator, Alfred Binet, actually designed the test to measure the effectiveness of Paris public schools so that new educational programs could be developed to improve children's education. So you may protest that if IQ is just something you can develop no matter what you were born with, doesn't that mean that anyone with proper motivation could become the next Einstein? Not exactly, but a person's true potential is unknowable. Dweck cites examples of great scientists, writers, artists, actors, and athletes who were not considered anything special when they were children. Charles Darwin and Leo Tolstoy were considered ordinary children. Ben Hogan was uncoordinated and graceless as a child. Cindy Sherman failed her first photography course, and Geraldine Page was advised to give up acting. Dweck states that the fixed mindset distorts your view of yourself, and that in order to learn effectively, you need accurate information about your current abilities. Fixed mindset people magnify their successes and explain away their failures in a way that works against them. The growth mindset, in contrast, leads to a love of challenge, a belief in effort, resilience in the face of setbacks, and greater success. The fixed mindset has been called the CEO disease. Dweck uses Chrysler head Lee Iacocca as the epitome of fixed mindset thinking in business, citing the fact that he stuck to the same models year after year as competitors in Japan innovated. In contrast, Dweck talks about how people with the growth mindset not only seek challenge, but also thrive on challenges. Soccer star Mia Hamm always chose to play with players who were bigger and stronger than herself, starting with her older brother, then at 10, the 11-year-old boys soccer team, then the #1 college team. So how does one test for mindset? The Russian dancer Marina Semyonova devised a test for her dance students that identified which ones came in with a fixed or a growth mindset. She had them go through a trial period where she watched how they responded to praise and correction, clearly separating those who get their thrill from what's easy from those who get their thrill from what's hard. Those that were more responsive to correction passed the trial. NASA did a similar thing when hiring potential astronauts. They rejected applicants who had an unbroken string of successes and accepted those who had bounced back from failures. In extreme cases of people who have found success despite having a fixed mindset, they end up with a sense of entitlement. In sport, the poster child for entitlement is John McEnroe.
Right on the line. No mistakes so far in this match, right? You haven't overruled anything. No mistakes whatsoever.
Second serve, please.
Answer my question! The question, jerk!
McEnroe complained even when the sawdust he used to absorb the sweat on his hands was ground too fine, and had his agent get someone to grind up a 2x4 to replace it. He described vomiting on a host and having the host apologize to him. Abusing other people and having them grovel is what passed for self-esteem for someone with such a fixed mindset. The same kind of elitism was exhibited by military pilots, whose story was told by Tom Wolfe in The Right Stuff. The rigor of the tests that needed to be passed to become such elite pilots caused those who made it that far to start to think of themselves as special, having been born smarter and braver than other people. But Chuck Yeager said, "There's no such thing as a natural-born pilot. Whatever my aptitude or talents, becoming a proficient pilot was hard work, really a lifetime's learning experience. The best pilots fly more than others. That's why they're the best." The fixed mindset can have the opposite effect when one encounters failure, causing such people to let their failures define them. Not so with the growth mindset. One of the greatest examples of this in sport was Jim Marshall's wrong way run in a game against the 49ers, where he scored for the wrong team.
Seeing the ball loose and seeing the goalpost kind of triggered, pick it up and run.
It's picked up by Jim Marshall, who's running the wrong way. Marshall is running the wrong way, and he's running it into the end zone the wrong way, thinks he scored a touchdown. He had scored a safety.
He bounced back from this devastating moment and didn't let the shame become overpowering. He came back strong, and his team won the game. His story helped others get over the big mistakes they never thought they could live down. Mindsets change the meaning of effort. People with growth mindsets appreciate endowment, but they admire effort. The story of Seabiscuit is the story of a whole team, jockey, owner, and trainer, who through dogged determination made themselves into champions. The author of the Seabiscuit novel, Laura Hillenbrand, had an equally challenging chronic fatigue in her college years and was inspired enough by the Seabiscuit story of overcoming hardship and the transformational power of effort that she turned it into a novel. In the fixed mindset, effort is only for people with deficiencies. If you claim not to have any deficiencies, effort can reduce you. Nadja Solerno-Sonnenberg was a violin prodigy at 10 years old, but when she arrived at Juilliard and studied with Dorothy DeLay, she learned that her fingerings and bowings were awkward, yet she refused to change. When she saw that other students were catching up and passing her, she felt like a failure. She was afraid of trying and still failing, the worst fear of the fixed mindset, because you have no more excuses. When DeLay had had enough, she threatened to throw Solerno-Sonnenberg out of her class. This finally changed Solerno-Sonnenberg's attitude, and eventually her mindset. Solerno-Sonnenberg now says, you have to work hardest for the things you love most. The growth mindset allows you to love what you do, and even to continue to love it in the face of difficulties. Growth-minded athletes, artists, and business people all loved what they did, while many of the fixed-minded, such as McEnroe, did not. Some people question whether a fixed mindset is really just a lack of confidence. But people with fixed mindsets have just as much confidence as those with growth mindsets. That is, until they fail at something. Their confidence is more fragile because setbacks can undermine it, and even effort can undermine it. For example, golf pro Michelle Wie was warned that she could damage her confidence by taking on the best male players in the world at events like the Sony Open. Vijay Singh said, "It's always a negative when you don't win." But Wie proceeded. She wasn't going there to groom her confidence. She was going there to learn. In the following episodes, we will examine the impact of mindset on sports, business, art, and relationships, and we'll see how to help people change from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. For those watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss an episode.